Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh! Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Hey, welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is Thursday, November 6th. That means it's time for the OG Hour. Patrick Allen here with you, as always, joined by my buddy, Price Carter, and it's apparently wear your college fandom on your head day here. We did not coordinate this, but he's got his Huskies hat on. I've got my Ohio State Buckeyes hat on, much to the chagrin, I think, of all of our friends in the Kansas City community.
Yeah, well, this I don't know about you, fellow dad, but this is a messy hair throw on a hat look for me. The bubonic plague has once again hit my home. My son puked in the preschool line, like to drop off at preschool. He puked in the car yesterday, and then my wife came home sick from work today. So we're just getting through it here. I'm sure it's going to hit my daughter and eventually me. So I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. That's basically how that goes nowadays.
Let me tell you, man, I am right there with you. I am getting sick as we speak. Like, I can feel the post-nasal drip. Rory's had a cold, had a fever, missed daycare on Monday. Mag was so sick with some sort of stomach bug. She was actually to go to the ER to get fluids just a couple nights ago. So I've been holding it down, and it's coming for me. Hopefully I'm not as sick as she was, but I've at least got his cold.
It's the worst. It's that's just how it goes with kids, man. Like, they just get sick and then they get healthy for like a week and then it's something new.
It's nuts. It's like he goes to daycare and it's like every Thursday, that's when he starts to show signs of whatever he caught at daycare. Like last winter, I was never more sick. I was sick constantly. Constantly. Yep. I had COVID the week before the Super Bowl. And then at the Super Bowl, while I was on Radio Row on Thursday or Friday, I started getting sick and I had a fever, like while I was doing Radio Row. It's brutal. But you know what? They're worth it. But I just kind of wish there was no cold and flu season, because it's, with a kid in daycare, man, oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. Shout out to our members. This is the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I see phantoms out there. And it's the bye week. So KCDC is an empty nester. Don't rub it in, man. So we got a lot to talk about today. You know, the trade deadline came and went. The Chiefs did absolutely nothing. I'm annoyed. And we've got to talk about that, because I know you guys haven't heard from me on that one. And this will be the last time you have to hear me talk about Breece Hall, as I have been talking about him since August and have been banging the drum on the post-game show. So let's start it off here with the trade deadline talk. I titled this Price, Chiefs and Jets play the world's dumbest game of chicken. And you know, as I was sitting there on deadline day and I was watching the Jets ship one great player after another, like just shipping them out, I was like, oh, well, if they're sending these guys out, there's no reason to keep Breece Hall. Like, he's running back, his contract is up. They have two young running backs that they like. They're blowing it up. Like, get what you can for him before he leaves. And they didn't do it. And then the reports come out. Chiefs wanted to give up a fourth. The Jets wanted a third. The Chiefs' third is pretty much a fourth usually. They played chicken right up until the deadline and did nothing. So I'm going to make my thoughts known in just a minute, but you start us off here. Did Veach blow it with Breece Hall?
It's kind of tough. I was on a show yesterday and I kind of use this analogy. It's the difference between when you walk into the grocery store and say, what is for dinner tonight? And then you walk into the grocery store with the list in hand and you know all the ingredients that you need for several meals. You've got, you're buying meat. I can use chicken for this. I can use chicken for that. right now, with the running back market, the running back position, we are the people walking into the grocery store looking for dinner right now. We want the instant gratification because we're hungry and we know what the position is. And unfortunately, that's just not the right way to look at this. Because in my opinion, I don't think that Brett Veach blew it with Breece Hall. I think that they blew running back position a while ago, and that Brett and the Breece Hall is just the symptom. And I think giving up a 3rd round pick for 10 or 12 games of Breece Hall is probably too much, especially if you're not going to extend him. Some people have done the thing of like, oh, here's a list of all the 3rd round picks that Brett Veach has made in the last couple of years. There's just one problem with that, though. Those are 3rd round picks who are around for years. 3 or 4 years of Leo Chanel, of Derek Nottie. Those players are valuable. And I mean, this wasn't a Brett Veach pick, but, Jamal Charles was a 3rd round pick. Travis Kelce is a 3rd round pick. Like, good players can be had in the 3rd round of the draft. And frankly, yes, you described it correctly. Like, the Jets are idiots for not taking a 4th round pick for Breece Hall. Because what the hell else are they going to do? Are they going to pay him? Are they, that roster, that team with that coach, going to pay a running back when they've invested several other picks in Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen? No, they're not going to. So they're basically just keeping him around for the sake of maybe some infrastructure on offense for the remainder of the season. They absolutely should have taken a 4th round pick, and it would have made a lot of sense. We all would have felt a lot better sitting here. But at the end of the day, the crimes, the sins that the Chiefs are paying for at running back came much earlier than Breece Hall. It's bringing in Elijah Mitchell at basically the same cost as Rico Dowdle, as Javonte Williams, as both of those guys have great seasons. And Elijah Mitchell, no joke, could be a missing person. I couldn't even tell you what number the man wears. And then Pacheco gets hurt, and it's finally an opportunity for him to contribute. And for some reason, he's on the roster. And then you bring in Clyde Edwards-Helaire and give him carries. So, or, we all, I like Jeffrey Bassa. That was a pick that a lot of people point to and say that is where the running back should have been drafted in this draft. And there have been good players that have went around where he went. But I mean, even you go look at, you live in the Chicago area, Kyle Monangai was a 7th round pick who just had over 100 yards for the Bears this week. So they didn't pick the right guy then or in the right time. And then they doubled down on it by not adding insurance to this room. How much better would this running back room look with Javonte Williams or Rico Dowdle? And it's not like this was a huge difference in cost. So all in all, it boiled down to the situation with Breece Hall, where it's who's going to blink first. And yeah, I think that, quite frankly, they blew it much before the Breece Hall move.
I got a couple caveats before I get into my take here. One is that running back is a weird position. You can find running backs anywhere in the draft that can be really good for you. But generally, to get really good running backs, you have to take them early. Like, it's pretty clear you don't get too many bust running backs that are taken really early. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, being a prime example that's painful for Chiefs fans. So I'm kind of good with trading for a guy that's going to need a new contract at the running back position that can play at the next level. It's going to be a really good running back for your team. Other caveat that I want to say is that Brett Veach has a plan, and maybe that plan was we don't like Breece Hall enough that we're going to extend him. I think that's dumb, but if that's their take on it, then I get why you wouldn't want to give up a 3rd round pick for him for the exact reason that you mentioned, Price. You're just renting him. 4th round pick, fine. 3rd round pick, we need those picks to be around. We're not going to extend this guy. And if that's their take on it, I don't agree with it, but if that's their take on it, I do think it would be dumb to trade a 3rd round pick for a guy you're only going to have for 8 games. All that being said, and me sitting here fully acknowledging I don't know what Brett Veach's plan is. I'm not in the building. I'm just a guy. I'm a fan, right? I think he blew it. I think Breece Hall is really good. I think his contract wouldn't have been that bad because he's never had like a crazy good season. He had one really good season in New York, but it's the Jets. He's on the Jets. Look what happened to Saquon Barkley when he got the hell out of the hellscape that is the New York Giants and goes to a real football team with real football players with actual threats on offense. He went absolutely out of his mind and won a Super Bowl. Now, I'm not saying Breece Hall is Saquon Barkley, but he's really good and he can do a lot of things. So I don't understand why the Chiefs did. Yeah, it doesn't suck to give up a higher pick, like a third rounder, and then you got to pay a guy right away. Yeah, that sucks. Like, you'd rather draft somebody in the third round. They should have taken Cam Scadaboo last year, and they wouldn't be in this boat, but they didn't. So you draft a guy in the third round, and then, you get him in a cheap contract for a number of years. But you're trying to win a Super Bowl. You have a major glaring deficiency in a couple different places, middle of the defensive line, pass rush, and running back. You saw what people had to give up to get premium pass rushers at this trade deadline. They had to pay a king's ransom. The Chiefs weren't going to be able to do that, nor do they really have the cap space to do it. You can't go and trade for a guy like Myles Garrett. He's too expensive. Breece Hall was like a bargain at a third round pick, because I think you could have re-signed him immediately for a pretty reasonable, would have been cheap, but a pretty reasonable contract for a running back before he comes into Kansas City and blows up, because he would in this offense. And the last thing that I'll say about it is what I said on the post-game show 2 weeks in a row. This Chiefs team, after that Buffalo game, they were either the worst or the next to worst run defense in the NFL. They didn't even try to run the ball against these guys. They were rushing 3, rushing 4. Boxes were light. If you had Breece Hall in that game and you actually used him, gave him, say, 15 carries, or say maybe 12 carries and 3 passes, whatever, I think the Chiefs win that game. I think it's a completely different game. And it makes the deficiencies, which you couldn't trade for, you couldn't get a premium pass rusher to fix your defense. So the best way, in my opinion, for the Chiefs to fix this offense this year to fix the defense this year was to fix the offense. Put together an offense with multiple weapons that's not one-dimensional, that allows you to get a lead and allows Steve Spagnuolo to play into the strengths of his defense, which is exotic blitzes and pass coverage. Instead, you're going to run into teams like the Buffalo Bills, who laugh at your running backs, rush 3, drop everybody into coverage, and take advantage if you've got injuries on the offensive line, and then let their friggin' tight ends just run free over the middle of the field, because plays can develop forever. You can't do a lot of that stuff if you have a 14 point lead and you can eat clock and run the ball and take advantage of the Bills' greatest weakness. So we just saw a game where the Bills were like, the Chiefs can't run the ball or won't run the ball, and they can't cover over the middle of the field because their linebackers can't do that. And we're just, and that they took advantage of it, and the Chiefs had a chance to take advantage of the Bills' weakness, and they did nothing. I think it's a huge whiff for Brett Veach. I don't agree with the Chiefs fans on social media who are losing their minds and saying he should be fired and all that stuff. They're idiots. Those people are idiots. And I've seen even worse than that. But I think this is a big miss for them, and I think it's going to come back to bite them in the ass.
Well, a couple things. I mean, you said yourself you weren't really comfortable with trading a third-round pick for him to just be a rental. Again, coming back to the now and later part of this. Part of the reason why you can't just auto-assume that you can lock up Breece Hall long-term to an extension is who you've already paid. You're paying the highest-paid center and highest-paid guard in the NFL. You're paying real money to a linebacker. You've got Trent McDuffie out there. No team is more over the cap for 2026 than the Kansas City Chiefs right now, according to Over the Cap. They have a lot to work to do to get underneath the cap, and we know where those spots are. The Mahomes contract needs reworked. You assume they are cutting Juwan Taylor. If Travis Kelce retires, that will free up some cap space. But and Chris Jones has a $44 million cap hit next year. You're not getting the production from him that you need for that price. So they can't do this. They can't pay a running back. I think the best case scenario is that they get Breece Hall on a second contract next year, and maybe his market doesn't evolve the way it is. They need to be going and looking for the next Javonte Williams, the next Rico Dowdle, those type of guys. And again, I just come back to that's what frustrates me more than anything is the fact that they chose Elijah Mitchell. And you're right. Some of this comes down to organizational philosophy. Since the Bills have decided to try to make things easier on Josh Allen with a great running game, he has become a far more efficient and productive passer because he's not turning the ball over as much because they're not asking him to go hero mode. They ask him to do it 3 or 4 times a game instead of 8 to 10 times a game. And then when the playoff games are on the line, that he puts his body at risk and all those things that he does in the run game, the ball hit the ground 3 times when Josh Allen threw the ball in this game. And they have no good wide receivers. And their best one, Khalil Shakir, is mainly a slot-only guy. And their second best wide receiver, Josh Palmer, didn't even play in this game. I mean, their wide receiver core is very similar to like what the Chiefs were running out there in 2023. If you kind of like factor in Khalil Shakir and Rashee Rice as similar-esque players. And they're able to have a pound-for-pound good offense, one of the best offenses in the NFL. And again, like, why did they bring in Elijah Mitchell? Because he's fast. That's what he was. He was fast and runs outside zone. Like, how about you start getting some people in here who match the identity of the team, which is power run game with Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, and King Matia, who all are better when they're not doing RPOs, when they're not doing inside zone, and bring in a back who can do that. I mean, you know, I'll pound the drum for a guy that I've pounded the drum for several times and got shit for it over the draft season. Cam Scatterbo, he's not fast. Yeah, how freaking good would Cam Scatterbo looking this often? I'm watching Jordan Tyson right now from last season, the wide receiver from Arizona State, and I just keep going like, God dang it, man. Cam Scatterbo would have looked great here in Kansas City. That's another name that they could have brought in. So really, it's just like they have to start considering this. And the game swings, it swings in pendulums. And right now, under center and like running the ball is something that's very important because you have so many defenses playing light, and the Chiefs never see stacked boxes. So their inability to take advantage of this, it could cost them. And I understand that we're sitting here talking about the Bills and glorifying their offense, and they're the team that always falls short. Lucy always pulls the football out from them at the end. But we also can acknowledge that like they're probably the third most successful NFL team besides the Chiefs and the Eagles of late, and they've just missed it. So it's not like they're doing stuff wrong over there.
Shout out to Green for the super chat. Says Patrick got that daddy beard. Hey, look, man, I was growing it out for that play I was doing, and now I just don't have time to shave. So I'm just gonna let it go until Mag threatens to divorce me, and then we'll make a decision at that point. Yeah, look, man, the Scatterbo stuff. I love Cam Scatterbo. I don't know how any of these NFL people watch this guy and what he did in that game against Texas, and we're like, yeah, it's a 4th round pick. It just shows you that as much as he's like, sometimes you just got to trust your eyes, man. Like, forget about the combine, all that stuff. That dude is awesome. I wish he was on the Chiefs. I wish Breece Hall was on the Chiefs. But you're right, and fans have a right to be frustrated because they had this deep running back draft, and they watched Veach go defense. I'm going to fix the defensive line, and it hasn't come to fruition yet. It's still early, but it hasn't come to fruition yet with Gelati and Norman Lott. And so you see that happen, and then we passed on all those running backs, and you're like, man, we got nothing. So that's not a fair evaluation because these guys are rookies. But, if that plan comes to fruition, much like it did when he started investing in the linebacking core, and it took a couple years for all that to kind of come together, we'll see how it goes. But right now, for no moves after they brought in guys like Kadarius Toney and old washed up DeAndre Hopkins, it's if you were looking for a silver lining in this, Chiefs fans, and we got to get moving on other topics here, but if you're looking for a silver lining, I'll say this. It tells you something about how they feel about their team right now. If they were feeling desperate, and I know we're all feeling desperate because of the record and because of the loss to the Bills, if they were feeling really, really desperate, like they probably were at the wide receiver position last year and in previous years when they've made trades, I think they would have made a deal. Everything coming out of Arrowhead right now is that they think they're really good. They think they're better than they were last year, and the energy in the building is really good. So they think they're going to turn it around and go on a run here, and they think they have enough to do what they need to do. That's what the lack of action tells me. We'll see. All right, let's keep it moving here. Good Lord, where's my outline? Okay, yeah. So listen, everybody, we've got a great running game. God, no, we don't have a great running game. We've got another great giveaway ready for our Arrowhead Addict family. Each month we're running an exclusive giveaway just for Arrowhead Addict members. And this November, we've got some fantastic prizes lined up. If you're a Ring of Honor tier member, you're in the running to get a Xavier Worthy jersey. And for everybody else that's a member, all the other tiers, you're in the running for a Chiefs t-shirt. So if you're not already a member, you've got to be eligible to win. So you just have to be a member by the end of November. We'll announce these giveaways live on the OG Hour on the first Thursday of every month. So be sure to tune in. Signing up is easy. Just click the link in the description of our YouTube videos Arrowhead Addict members not only get entered into these exclusive giveaways, but they also get access to our private Discord with the hosts, special member happy hours, fantasy football leagues, and more. We'd love to get to know you better. So what are you waiting for? Become an Arrowhead Addict member today. And that means it is time for me to announce the October giveaway winners. And I'm going to do that right now. That says September, Richard. Is that correct? Gotcha. Okay, cool. Sorry, little inside baseball. So the Ring of Honor winner is Joe Thibert, and from the starting 11 tier, Joey Zook. So Joe, you are getting the Joshua Simmons jersey that we promised you. So we'll be in touch. And Joey, you're going to get a Chiefs hat. I'm going to have to pick that out, but we'll be sending those along to you guys. We appreciate your support of all your support and all the support of our members. And make sure you get on board so you can get the Savior Worthy jersey we're going to be giving away next month. Okay, let's keep it moving. So it's the bye week, and I thought we do a little mini panic meter price. So 0 to 10, 0 being Patrick Mahomes, and a 10 being, I don't know, who's the worst Chief you can think of? I've got old guys in my head like Donald Stevenson, Damian McIntosh, Kadarius Toney, maybe. Let's say 10 is Kadarius Toney with the game on the line and a slant pass. Is 10 on the panic meter. I'm going to ask you 4 questions or give you 4 aspects of the team, and then you tell me where you're at on the panic meter and why. And you guys let us know in the chat where you're at as well. And I'll start it off with the pass rush. Where are you on the panic meter? 0 to 10. Mahomes to Toney.
Man, I think for me it's probably a 7 or an 8. To me, I think that this is probably the biggest problem. And like I said earlier, like it starts with Chris Jones. This team cannot go where it wants to go without their stars playing at their best. Patrick Mahomes has had a great season. Travis Kelce is playing really, really well. I think it's honestly surprising at how well he's playing at this point, leading all tight ends in yards. Chris Jones is not playing like Chris Jones. And, last year, the productions weren't there with the sacks, but he still was towards the top of the NFL for interior defensive linemen with pressure. The drop has been precipitous for him and very quick, honestly, surprisingly quick. And I'm just not sure what's leading to that. But if this is the version of Chris Jones that they're going to get for the rest of the season with him playing the amount of snaps that he's playing, I mean, I think that's one thing they've got to look at. They've got to look at stop giving him 78, 83% of the snaps. Start treating him more like a rotational player who's in his 30s, because that's what he is. Part of the problem is they don't have anything else there. They lucked into Mike Pennell being available. They brought back Derek Nottie, and then most of the other guys they have on the interior are all guys who can kick inside, like Gelati, like Amenahue, like Dana. They don't have many pure one tech, pure nose guys. And then the pass rush, like George Karlaftis is having a good season. And honestly, it's under discussed at how well of a season he is having, but he cannot be your one. That's just not how he wins. He is a great number 2. And then they're left with a rookie in Gelati, and Amenahue who's not looked like the version of himself that we saw in 2023. He looks like the guy who took a 1-year deal late in free agency. So, and there's not really any avenues for this to improve, right? There's not some player. I mean, I guess you're hoping that Gelati just grows and that Chris Jones starts playing better. That's really it. And keeping in mind, like, I do think a solid portion of the Chiefs' sacks are coverage sacks. I think their back end is really strong. They play really good coverage. We know Spagnuolo can dial up blitzes, but more and more, like, the Chiefs are, and part of the reason why, like, I put a stat out, the Chiefs are the worst defense in the NFL at defending under center per EPA per play. That is because guess where Steve Spagnuolo cannot cook up his exotic blitzes? From under center, because he's got base personnel and 3 linebackers on the field. It's hard to find mismatches there. So that is, to me, that is their biggest concern. And, the only thing that I will find solace in is the fact that in this playoffs, you've got guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who actually are guys that you may not necessarily want to go crazy with the pass rush. It's more about containment with them. And then you've got some guys who are a little bit more statuesque, like Bo Nix in the pocket. Bo Nix's a pretty good scrambler. Daniel Jones, like that's the one hope, is that there's not some guy who's just going to kill you as far as if he's not getting pressure. But it's certainly the biggest issue in my opinion.
I will say that on ESPN, Chris Jones is second among defensive tackles in pass rush win rate. So it's not all bad.
I don't know what goes into that one. Like PFF, I mean, Mike Pinnell is the Chiefs' best interior defensive lineman according to PFF, and the pressures aren't there. But let's be clear. Like, you know, I do charting for FTN where DVOA and some other stats are created. Like, there is a subjective part to this. And if you're charting Chris Jones, was it a pressure? Was it not a pressure? 50-50? He probably gets the nod versus someone else. So the pass rush win rate is surprising though.
Yeah, they've got him at 15%. To 19 wins and 125 plays. You know, it's probably shades of both, right? He's getting older.
Yeah. And the eye test,
he's still Chris Jones.
Yeah, the eye test just tells you that, right? Like, we're used to seeing 2 or 3 games from Chris Jones, or 2 or 3 plays in a game from Chris Jones that that play is just ruined because of Chris Jones. And that's not happening as much, even when he's not getting sacked.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is the running game. 0 to 10 panic meter.
I'm going to go at a 4 for this. I know that, and very correct, by the way, you talking about how important having a viable running game is, and how the Chiefs handicap themselves by not having that. But at the end of the day, this team has won 3 Super Bowls with their lead running back being Damian Williams. Also Damian Wilson, he was on that roster too. But Damian Williams, who wasn't even the starting running back that season. They go to another Super Bowl with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who, you know, wasn't very good. He was a first-round pick, but he wasn't very good. And Isaiah Pacheco, and Jerick McKinnon off the scrap heap. Like, it's very clearly a position they do not prioritize. The Chiefs' run game needs to be viable. It does not have to be great for them to win because of what they can do passing the game. And this always bothers me because people just want to throw this out. Quarterback running is very important to a run game. It matters with Lamar Jackson. It matters with Josh Allen. It matters with a lot of players. The Chiefs are 3rd in the NFL in EPA per rush. Patrick Mahomes' scrambles are doing a large part of that. But guess what? Patrick Mahomes has always scrambled. He's going to scramble. That is a part of their run game. And it helps create lanes for them in the pass game. Again, it needs to be viable, not great. I think if they can get basically what they were getting from Isaiah Pacheco, and part of the reason why they're so high in EPA is because of what Kareem Hunt gets them in short yardage. That is one of the biggest developments for the Chiefs the last couple of years, as they have all of a sudden become good in short yardage. There for a while in short yardage, I mean, I'd rather it be 3rd and 18 than 3rd and 1 sometimes. It seriously felt like that. So I could it be better? Yes, I don't think that Rashard Smith is riding in here on a white stallion and going to take a Damian Williams, Jerick McKinnon-like run. He's just very clearly too small to be a guy who's running between the tackles. He's more of a closer Dexter McCluster, DeAnthony Thomas, screen option guy than anything. But they just need to get, and I do think that Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco have looked a little bit better before the injury. This game against the Bills, they almost got game scripted out too, because they were chasing points so quickly in that game that it was hard for the run game to stay viable. The whole game plan didn't make a lot of sense in Buffalo. So much vertical routes. There's just virtually no RPOs. They weren't attacking over the middle of the field with crossers. So run game, I'm a little concerned, but to me, it's certainly not as big of a concern.
Gary's got it at an 8. Bumpa is like a 7.5. We'll see how it continues to materialize. All right, next up is coverage in the middle of the field. Defensive coverage in the middle of the field. Where you at, Bryce?
It certainly has been a weakness for the Chiefs for quite some time. I mean, this has been true for 3 or 4 years. We've known that the middle of the field is where teams are going to attack. And look, this isn't anything new. This is a lot of teams' plans to attack your linebackers in coverage, to put them in space and put them in conflict with what they're seeing with their eyes. And it's part of what makes the Bills so dangerous is the fact that if Josh Allen is handing or looking like he's going to hand the ball to James Cook, you have to honor that. The only thing I'll say there is that I think they got to find a way to get Jaden Hicks on the field more. I was surprised at how few of snaps he took in the Bills game. I think he is their person that needs to match up on linebackers rather than Drew Tranquill. I think Tranquill's having a better season this year than he did last year, but he is not the converted safety from Notre Dame that he used to be, right? Like, that player is kind of gone. He's much closer to a traditional middle linebacker at this point. And we know Nick Bolton's not that guy. So they need to find a way to not have matchups dictated to them, which is what feels like happens, is that they know the Chiefs rules and they know how to break them. And they know how to get Dalton Kincaid wide open being chased by Drew Tranquil, right? Like that, they win that matchup every time. You get that. So for me, it's a 5. Just because like I feel like that's where teams always want to attack them, but that's nothing new. And again, like you're just going to see more and more, and these next 2 games are very conducive to that with the Broncos and with the Colts. They're going to get under center. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to pass out of heavy formations. That's what they want to do against the Chiefs. So it's certainly something they've got to find an answer for, but I think they have the personnel for it. Like I said, I think Hicks can be better in that way. I think Brian Cook is playing surprisingly well. And then like, obviously they're going to target Shamari Connor too. And it was very instructive to me in this game that Trent McDuffie took a season high snap count out of the slot this week against the Bills, because that's where Khalil Shakir plays. So I was very glad to see that, because I was concerned because I was thinking, okay, here we go. Shamari Connor covering like Khalil Shakir over and over again. This is going to be brutal, but they did at least adjust that. And I think that helped some of their middle field coverage as well.
Well, every year we play the Bills, and every year in the regular season, I watch and I think, man, that looks like a better team than what we've got. And then the playoffs happen. So let's hope. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Last one here, defensive interior. Where you at on the panic meter? Because one of the things I think that the Chiefs were trying to do against the Bills was kind of what they did against the Lions, which is we're going to play our linebackers a lot. We're going to stop the run, and they didn't stop the run though, and that pretty much killed that game plan.
Yeah, it's very different because of what happens when you add in a running back. The Chiefs are always and will always struggle, it seems like, against running quarterbacks that can truly design run. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, some of those guys, they, probably their best game of the year as far as total team win, but also what they did defensively was the Lions game. Their defense was very beat up, but Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, all those guys were out there. Part of that is you do not fear Jared Goff carrying the ball, right? And that was their best run defense game before they even brought in Mike Pennell. The Chiefs are 28th in the NFL in EPA per rush allowed. That is, here's the thing I'll say about run defense, and you just can't be god awful. You just can't be truly terrible. And I don't think that they're truly. Yeah. You cannot turn their run game into as explosive as a pass game, right? Like you just can't be that bad. So I'll probably go a 5 there too. I feel better about it now that Pennell's here. It does really stink that Omar Norman-Lott tore his ACL, because I think I saw some flashes there of the player that they wanted him to be. The only thing I got to say is, today the Steelers signed Broderick Martin, a former top 100 pick out of Western Kentucky, off the Chiefs practice squad that they got off the Lions roster. They still have Zach Pickens, who's also a top 100 pick. What does Zach Pickens have to do, man? Like, how bad is he that he can't beat out Derek Nottie? PFF, again, take it with a grain of salt. They have him as their worst defensive tackle in the NFL, and it shows. He looks like he's playing on roller skates. I don't care if he knows where to be. Hell, if he knows where to be, is he even getting to there with how he moves? Give Zach Pickens a look. Give anybody a look, because it's proven that the floor is incredibly low. And, that'd be my one complaint. It's just like running it back with the same players like him, like Tillery. At least Tillery hasn't been in the organization forever, but they've got to find a way to get better in that spot in the offseason.
All right, everybody. Listen, football's back. We're going to have some football tonight, and that means that you got to go to Underdog for the best place to get in on all the action. You got to get off the bench and get into the game. Go to Underdog. So it's easy, right? You just pick whether your favorite player is going to go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. If you get your picks right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. I'm in on Underdog tonight with the Broncos at playing the Raiders tonight. It's going to be weird because I think I'm going to be rooting for the Raiders, but it is what it is. I'm going to go with higher than 220 and a half passing yards for Bo Nix. And I'm going to go with lower than 70 and a half rushing yards for J.K. Dobbins. I just think that this game is going to be a little bit of a shootout. Denver is a little bit banged up in the back end, and the Raiders got Brock Bowers back, and they've been running out of 12 personnel, and I think that is a good change for them. So, and Brock Bowers is back in that he is Brock Bowers again and not injured Brock Bowers that we saw earlier in the season. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a shootout. So those are the reasons behind those picks. So you download the app today and sign in with our promo code Arrowhead Addict. You'll score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado. For some games, it's 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. If you're concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, you can call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York 467-369. All right, let's get into second half predictions. Again, it is the bye week, so let's get Price on the record of what he thinks is going to happen when the Chiefs return to the gridiron. Let us know in the chat what you guys think as well. So it's a little second half predictions, true or false. Price, kick us off. The Chiefs are going to come back from the bye week, and they're going to run the table. True or false?
Oh boy, it is so funny how we sit here and we go through the schedule in April or May, whatever that is, because it's all we have, and we get all excited for football and how much these games change on their schedule. I mean, I think a lot of people pointed to the stretch with the Colts and the Titans and be like, okay, that's the spot where they just get hot. And now the Colts game looks like it could be one of the toughest games of the year for them. So I've got to go false on that. I think that they have a chance of, maybe only losing one more. I think that'd be ideal if you're hoping for them to win the AFC West. But I think they certainly at least have one more loss in them.
I'm going to go, oh man, I was waiting until after the bye week or after the trade deadline because I had an inclination they might be able to run the table, but I'm going to say false as well. I think they're going to lose one more. I think they're going to drop one more game, but they got to be careful, man. They do not have a lot of room for error. Okay, next up, Rashee Rice will finish with 1,000 yards receiving. True or false?
Well, hold on. Let me look and see what he's at right now. I do think one thing with Rashee Rice is, and I think we saw it a little bit on that fourth down where the Chiefs are trying to get it. I think it was like 4th and 2. They target him, and Cole Bishop, who apparently turned into Troy Polamalu in that game for some reason. I mean, they were sprinting towards Rashee Rice before he ever even got the ball. The question is, as much will he? Should he? Like, I think this offense looks better whenever they are distributing the ball a lot, and they have made such a concerted effort to get Rashee Rice the ball. He's already got 215 yards on the season. That's in, let's see, how many games left do they have? Got to look here. They played 9 games so far, right? So I didn't know there was going to be math. They've got 8 games left. He's got 215. I'll go false, just hoping that maybe they're going to get Tyquan Thornton involved a little bit more. But I think it's really close. I really do. 215 yards in 3 games. That's pretty impressive. And they seem very committed to getting him that target share. The only other thing I'll say is, they're committed to getting him touches in other ways too, like with this Wildcat stuff that they've been doing with him. They'll hand the ball to him in a run situation too. He's really kind of become Deebo Samuel from 2020 or 2021 where he's taking true running back reads out of the backfield, which is very cool to see.
Yeah, they're going to get the ball in his hands anywhere they can. I'm going to go false. I think he gets close, but he just doesn't have enough games really left to do it. It's tough. It's hard to get 1,000 yards. It's hard to do it without, in the constrained time period that he has to do it. All right, next up, Isaiah Pacheco will return healthy and stabilize the running game. True or false?
Well, yeah, that's false. I was like, Isaiah Pacheco and the phrase stabilize, are those antonyms? Are those like polar opposites? You know what I mean? Like, they're just not 2 words that go together well. I do think it looks a little bit better with him there. If anything, like his ability just to occasionally bounce a run and get 10 yards on the outside, it's just a little bit more than they're able to get. we know what he is at this point. I think the bigger part of your statement is like, will he be healthy? How did he look when he came back from that injury? From what I understand, this injury is not nearly what it was last time, but yeah, I've got to go false just because I think the Chiefs run game is just going to be merely taking advantage of what is given. It is the classic, you need 3, they'll get you 3. You need 7, they'll get you 3.
I agree. I don't think we're going to get it's false. We're not going to get the stabilization we want. We're going to get the same thing we've been getting, which is, gimmicky West Coast passing run plays and Bashard Smith a little bit and Kareem Hunt a little bit and a little bit of Isaiah Pacheco, and hope Patrick can put on the Superman cape. All right. Next is Patrick Mahomes will re-enter the MVP conversation. I'm not saying he fell out of it, but that game against Buffalo, where he had the worst completion percentage of his career, Josh Allen had 3 incompletions, I think hurt his case. Can he get back into it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. First off, you just look at the platform, right? Like MVP is a narrative award. Mahomes plays a ton of primetime games still left. So he's got the platform to be able to do that. And while I do think that this was his worst week this season, he still leads in a lot of numbers that a lot of people like to see. He's 3rd in passing yards. Let's see here. He's 6th in passing touchdowns. He's got 3 or 4 more rushing touchdowns. As far as EPA per dropback goes, he's 6th. And if he comes out here and plays well, especially against 2 games against Denver, a game against the Colts, he's got some stat padding opportunities there with the Titans, and they're very clearly probably going to have to play all 17 games this season. So I definitely think it's there to re-enter the conversation. So that's definitively true. I don't know if he's going to win it, because I think he'll point blank have to be better than whoever he is. Like last year, I'm not sure that Josh Allen was the better MVP candidate, but he won it because of some narratives that exist with Lamar already getting 2 and would have been back to back, right? So his numbers are going to have to be better than Drake May, be better than Matt Stafford, who I frankly think is probably the most underrated MVP candidate right now as far as what he's done.
Don't forget that he still has a game against the Titans and the Cowboys defense. So
yeah, and that's another spot, right? Like everybody is going to be watching that game in Thanksgiving, and that defense, though it certainly has gotten better the last couple of days with some of the additions they've had. You go out there and throw 404 TDs. Everyone's watching and eating turkey. That certainly will help his case.
Indeed. Okay, next up, Trent McDuffie will secure the bag with a fantastic second half. True or false?
I'm going to go false. This is a real interesting question because of what's going on with Sauce Gardner. First off, I think the Colts are really going to regret that trade. That is a steep price to pay for a corner who has already been paid, right? Like, he is not what the Rams got with their corner trade a couple of years ago. He is not that level of player. He's very good, but he's not that player. I think if the Chiefs could get a 1st-round pick for Trent McDuffie, would they do it? What about a 1st and a 4th, a 1st and a 3rd, or something like that? Because the 2 1st-round picks and a player, A.D. Mitchell went on day 2 of the draft, right? Like, that's a lot to give up. But I just don't think you can pay everyone. I don't think that it is in the best interest of this team to pay every single player. And this is the next step for Brett Veach. It was hard trading away Tyreek Hill. Nobody loved the way that felt. But guess what? Tyreek Hill was a John Dorsey draft pick, and they were working to extend him before the Devontae Adams and Christian Kirk contract happened. Pretty much the way it's gone right now, about the only Chris Jones or a Brett Veach draft pick that's really left is Colin Saunders and L'Jarius Sneed. And L'Jarius Sneed was injured. Most of them have basically all came back. He's paid Nick Bolton. He's paid Trey Smith. He's paid Creed Humphrey. He's paid Mike Dana. He's got to start letting his picks walk. Right. And that's the next step, because like we've seen how this go with the Patriots. You cannot have the highest paid position or highest paid player at each position and be a viable team. They will become too top heavy and the floor will fall out. Based upon the Chiefs' history at drafting and developing corners, based on what they have on the roster right now, let's just think about it. If you could get a 1st-round pick for Trent McDuffie and you could then use some of that money to extend Leo Chanel and Jalen Watson, that trade-off is pretty large, considering that Trent McDuffie will likely get $30 million to $31 million APY, because that's what Sauce Gardner's at. And the notion that Trent McDuffie can't get that because he's a slot corner is silly. He was second team All-Pro playing almost exclusively out wide last year. He's the best slot defender in the NFL. He is just also a very good outside corner. So it's something that's really tricky, and I think it's a real litmus test of what Brett Veach is going to do in this next wave when it comes to his players.
Yeah, it's the defense is in a little bit of a transition if that happens, and he can only play one. He can only guard one guy.
Yeah.
That's the thing about paying cornerbacks, where it's when you pay a guy like Chris Jones, and we could make an argument about whether or not that was the right thing to do. They can affect every single play of the game, whereas cornerbacks can take one guy out. So,
and corner is a young man's position. How many of the best corners in the NFL are 28, 29, 30? Not many. Most of them are guys on rookie contracts or guys who are just coming out of that, like Patrick Surtain.
Yeah. All right. Next up, the defensive front will continue to struggle to get sacks. I think I know your answer on this one.
Yep, that's true. That is true. They're going to struggle as long as Chris Jones isn't the version of himself that they need him to be.
Yep, I agree. It's true. All right, how about Hollywood Brown, not Xavier Worthy, will emerge as the true number 2 option in the passing game?
I do think it's a little underrated about how he's played this year. Like, I think you're getting more out of him than you might have expected, especially when you consider the injuries, right? He's managed to stay healthy. He's had some big games, had a couple of games that were real close to 100 yards. He's got 389 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think that the red zone is something that sticks out there. They simply put, they've got to see more from Xavier Worthy. I think that they need to stop asking Xavier Worthy to do Tyquan Thornton things. Tyquan Thornton on a per snap basis is one of the most effective downfield receivers in the NFL point blank. That's statistically true this year. So let him do that, and let Xavier Worthy be more of the player he was towards the back end of last year, which is more of a matchup-based gadget type of guy. And then Hollywood Brown can do some of the X things that he does. Because I think Tyquan Thornton is probably more, or I should say Z. Tyquan Thornton's more the X. But there's a lot of mouths to feed here. Like, Travis Kelce, he's kind of quietly become the number 3 or 4 in this offense. So I'm going to go true, unfortunately, because I just think that Xavier Worthy's not going to exceed in the role that he's in right now.
I tend to agree with you. I'm going to go true as well. Hollywood Brown has Patrick Mahomes' trust. Now, I know that Xavier Worthy missed games with injury, but he's tied for the lead in targets on this team with a guy named Travis Kelce. So Patrick Mahomes really trusts Hollywood Brown, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. All right, next up, now we're getting into the meat of them. The Chiefs will win the AFC West. True or false?
As a man who played at least for me, sizable bet on them when they were 1-2. Yes, I do think that they get this done. I think they're fortunate to have the matchups remaining that they do. I think the Chargers are going to be a weaker version of themselves coming into Arrowhead in December. I think they got to take both Broncos games, though. And I think that this potentially, like I thought about asking this online, is this the most important regular season game of Patrick Mahomes' career coming up? Regular season. It could be. It really could be. Because if you lose this game, the chances of winning the AFC West, when I say this game, I mean the next one upcoming, the chances of winning the AFC West are very, very slim. And the Broncos are going to be without their best defensive player. They're still a very good defense, and Bo Nix is gettable. Like you should not have a situation where the defense is just shredding, or their offense is just shredding the Chiefs' defense. So I really think they got to do it, especially coming off a bye. The only disadvantage is for the Chiefs, the Broncos, because they play tonight, have a little mini bye too. And you're playing at a place that has a pretty substantial home field advantage with the altitude and a good fan base out there in Denver. So I think it's true. But I think it's one of those things, like they're going to need to win that Raiders game week 17. And hopefully they roll over and let the Chiefs scratch their belly out in Las Vegas.
Yeah, the Chiefs got to beat the Broncos twice. They need that tiebreaker. They've got a 2-game lead on us right now. So you got to take them down and just take care of your business. If they don't win the AFC West, and I think they will, I'm going to go true that it's the Jaguars game that'll come back to haunt them. Okay.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that's the one. The Chiefs will once again defeat the Bills in the postseason. True or false?
It's tough because you're really answering 2 questions, aren't you? You're answering, do you think that they match up? And then do you think the Chiefs will win? I'm going to go no, not because I think the Chiefs lose to them, but because I think that they lose to someone else. I do think that it's possible that defense is their man, if they have to go to, because I'm not even sure they win their division, right? Like I think the Patriots might run and hide because of their schedule. Because the game that's left for the Patriots and Bills is in New England, and the radios don't work out there. Like that's what happens out there in Foxborough. So if you get into a healthy Ravens versus Bills game with that run defense, they're the exact that's the team that they're built to lose to. We've seen the Ravens do what they do. So maybe that's a game that Lamar Jackson pulls it off. Because, I mean, we've seen historically, when it comes to the playoffs and you're trying to make the Super Bowl, the team that doesn't have to go through Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, the team that gets to set that game out is usually the team that ends up going to the Super Bowl. And, I continually come back to the fact that I think the 13 seconds game played a huge part in why the Chiefs lost the AFC Championship game. Because that game took everything out of them, and they thought they had that game won at halftime, and they went to sleep at the second half of that game, and it snuck up on them. And like Josh Allen has lost to Joe Burrow at home, so I think that maybe there's a chance that someone picks them off before the Chiefs get there. That's quite honestly usually how it happens. Maybe it's the Colts. Like the Colts again. That's another team that would just run the ball down their throats.
Yeah, they've got some tricky games. They got Tampa Bay coming up. The Bills do. At Houston, who knows what's going on with them, but that could be tricky. At the Steelers, they're not as good as the Bills, but they're always a wild card, as they demonstrated last week. Then, of course, they have at New England. And then down there on December 28th, they play the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's not a cakewalk. All right, let's keep it moving here. The Chiefs will make the AFC Championship game again. True or false?
True. It's true. While we are so down on the Chiefs right now, I think that there's a potential that with you, when you get Josh Simmons back in the building and he starts playing like the left tackle he is, that this team is a top 10 to 12 defense in the NFL and a top 3 offense in the NFL with a great head coach, a great defensive coordinator, and a quarterback who has another gear in the playoffs that has been unmatched by only one guy. So I think that's true. I especially like their chances to make it there. It starts getting really hard past there, but I certainly like their chances to make it there.
Until they don't do it, I'm not going to pick against them. So I'm going to go true. All right. Chiefs will make it to the Super Bowl. Put your money where your mouth is. True or false?
Man. It's one of those things. If I say yes, I'm a homer. If I say false, I'm going against literal statistical history evidence right now. It's the thing. Are they due? Are they due to not go? I will say true. I think that they get it done one more time. I shouldn't say one more time. I think they managed to pull it off again.
I think this team, I'm going true. Like, I know they're struggling and they're 5-4, but this is one of the better teams that they've had. I really, truly believe that, even with the warts and deficiencies they have in some areas. This offense is really, really good. The defense has played. I know they didn't play well against the Bills, and I know they have problems, but they have played really, really well. That NFL history says they're not going to make it, that they're going to stumble. Someone's going to get them, but they just always find a way in the playoffs. So why would I pick against them this year?
Yeah, and I mean, you look at people love this stat for some reason. It's kind of like them pointing to themselves and be like, "See, I was right." But the whole they were 12-0 in one-score games last year and 0-3 this year. Honestly, I think that stat's a little fluky, partially because several of the one-score games that the Chiefs have been in this year are games that they got themselves back into one-score games. Like if you watch the Chargers game and if you watch the Bills game, those didn't feel like true one-score games. Those were games that the Chiefs were climbing back into, that the back door was just left open. But like the other part of that is the Chiefs aren't playing as many one-score games this year because they're winning them by 2 and 3 scores. They have a gear that they didn't used to have now. And to me, I just look at it and I say, if that team last year can do what it did and went where it went, why can this team not? Because a lot of the bones are the same and the margin for error for that team was much less. So yes, I think so.
I agree. All right. And lastly, you knew it was coming. The Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. True or false?
Just for the sake of not being totally blindly biased, I'll say false. I think the NFC is pretty good this year. The Eagles are still very good. The Seahawks are a team that, I think are playing really good football. I just think that there's a lot of really good teams in the NFC. And I think that, it's just really hard to continually go and win. And I think that this could be the year that a more complete overall team wins rather than the team with a superstar quarterback. So that goes for Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar. Like, I think like that's kind of true. Like, I think a Daniel Jones or a Sam Darnold, a surprising team could sneak up in there, or Stafford's still a superstar, but that's another team that I could see getting in there and winning it all.
Boy, if they make it, the Mahomes legacy people, and they lose, Mahomes legacy people will lose their minds. All right, let's get to Patty's power rankings. We're going to do a football one this time. Other than the Bills, who are KC's top 3 threats in the AFC? Why don't you kick us off, Bryce?
So I think at 3, it's the Broncos because of what they can do on defense. You want to talk about a team that can emulate the game plan that the Bills just put out there. It's the Broncos, and even better, right? Like, get pressure with 4, which the Bills were absolutely destroying several backups on the Chiefs offensive line and an injured Trey Smith. And then play good coverage on the back end, right? With all the guys that they have out there. That's a game plan that the Chiefs showed that they can struggle against, and they're going to have to figure out a way to solve those where they're getting manned up on the back end. They were not afraid to play man coverage against the Chiefs, and I don't think that the Broncos will be either for what they can put out there. At number 2, I think it's the Ravens. I think that their defense is going to kind of surge like it has in the last couple of years. They bring in a safety so they can be more versatile with Kyle Hamilton. They bring in Draymond Jones, a move I would have liked to see the Chiefs make to help kind of get their pass rush where it's going. They're getting healthier. And all the things that we just said about the Bills as far as what they can do with running and passing, all those things are true for Lamar Jackson. He's not the passer though, Lamar or Josh Allen is, but he's pretty dang close. And you just don't want to get in a game there where you get in a shootout with Lamar, because he can do and do so many unique things. And hot take, number 1's the Colts. Like, I look at the Colts and I say, they've got a former All-Pro, a really good corner in Shavarius Ward. They have an All-Pro in Sauce Gardner. They have Kenny Moore, a really good slot cornerback. They have Cam Bynum, a really good safety. They've got a pretty darn good pass rush with a guy like DeForest Buckner on the inside. They've got a good linebacker in Zaire Franklin. Oh, and by the way, the guy that has given Mahomes more fits than anybody else is their defensive coordinator with that personnel. An ass-kicking offensive line with many different weapons that can beat you in many different ways. You want to throw it on the field? There's Alec Pierce, a guy who's a ball winner who can stretch the field. You want a short, quick, intermediate route? They've got Josh Downs out of the slot. They got a really big mismatch nightmare at the tight end position, and Tyler Warren, who can take advantage of linebackers. And then, oh, by the way, there's that guy, Jonathan Taylor, who might be playing the best offensive football as anyone in the NFL. I think they've got a good coach. He coached with the Eagles. He's shown that he can, attack this Chiefs defense like he did in 2022. Daniel Jones can basically just not shit the bed. And if they can do that, like I think that's a team that's could be really, really challenging for the Chiefs. You are muted, Patrick.
Appreciate that. I think we're pretty close on these, but I'm just not the biggest believer in the Colts. Everything you mentioned is true, but I can't get past the Daniel Jones thing, and I just think he'll turn into a pumpkin at some point, and they'll fall apart. Well, not fall apart, but that'll get them in the playoffs. I'm going to go Broncos number 3. They're at the top of the division. They play the Chiefs well. They've got a coach who knows what he's doing. I think, as you mentioned, Bo Nix can be had. Their defense will probably get healthy at some point, so I do see them as a problem. I got the Ravens at 2. I know they're 3-5 right now, but Lamar is back, and you're looking at that AFC North, and you're like, I mean, they can win that. The Bengals are horrid. The Browns are garbage. And the Ravens with Lamar are better than the Steelers. So, I could see them going on a run here and being the sort of the Ravens that we're used to come playoff time, and they sneak in there. And then give me the Chargers number 1. I know they're really banged up, lost both their tackles, but I just think that the way that they play football, and this worries me about the Colts too, being able to run the ball. They've got a tight end that's kind of going crazy for them, and they've got a good quarterback. I think if they can overcome those injuries and we had to run into them in the playoffs, I think they definitely could beat us. I think they're even going to be a problem when we play them later in the season. So I'm worried about them. They scare me more than Denver because of the quarterback, even though they've got the injuries.
Yeah, and I think you listed the best quarterback there with Justin Herbert. It's very close between him and Lamar for me, but I just can't get past the injuries at the tackle position. I mean, I sincerely worried that Herbert's not going to stay healthy. I know that they traded for Trevor Penning. Look, if you're hoping for Trevor Penning to fix your tackle problems, just play Joe Thuney at left tackle, buddy, because it's not going to get much better. Because that's where Penning's been playing guard this year, and obviously losing Alt and Slater is just massive for that team. And they are truly cursed, it feels like, at the tackle position or just injuries in general. But to your point, 3 good wide receivers. All of them are playing well. Herbert's playing well. Aranda Gadsden, which you brought up, is turned into a weapon for them. And yeah, if they can get their first round pick going at the running back position when he returns off of IR, they could be a potentially dangerous team and has many ways to beat you.
All right, everybody, we got to get out of here. This was a really fun show. Enjoy the bye week. Trying to think about the Chiefs. Play fantasy football, watch the other teams, do a little bit of scouting, or maybe even spend time with your families, because when the Chiefs get back, it's time for the stretch run. We'll be here for you with our regular slate of shows, and let's see if the Chiefs can turn this thing around and go on another run to a Super Bowl. Thank you to Price Carter for joining me today. Thank you to all the Arrowhead Addict members. If you want to become a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast, check out the link in the description. Thanks to producer Richard. My name is Patrick Allen. We'll see you next time. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.